Hi, my name is Stephanie. I'm a fashion designer and stylist living in Brooklyn, and I want to show you a cool way to copy clothes. I know of the trace around method, which works great for things like t-shirts, but if you have something that's more complicated, I have a method that could work. So besides the garment you want to copy, you need a large piece of clear plastic. I suggest recycling bags, a marker that doesn't smudge on plastic, scissors, plenty of pins, and clear tape. If the, say, garbage bags are not big enough to fit around your garment, you can always use the tape to piece multiple pieces together so that you have something that's big enough to wrap the garment. Okay, let's get started. The piece I want to copy is this jacket. It's this awesome dolman sleeve jacket that I rarely wear because the pattern is a bit too crazy for me at times. What's cool about it is that there's no center back seam and there's no side seams. There's just this seam that comes and that curves around like this and up. And by laying it flat, I couldn't really figure out how to copy the shape. Okay, I've laid the garment out flat and covered the seams with black tape so that hopefully you can better see what it is that I'm talking about. First up, there's these seams here, which are for the two pockets and the collar. There's no center back seam. And then there's this seam, which curves around the body into the sleeve, and then there are these cuff pieces. So if I wanted to just lay it out flat and trace it, it would be difficult because this piece needs to fold up and this piece needs to fold down. Okay, so here we go, starting at the center back. Pushing the pins into the hilt so that they stay in while I'm maneuvering the garment around to pin all of this on. Being careful to only go through, the one layer of fabric. So when I'm maneuvering it around, it is easier. Next step is to use this marker to trace all of the seams and key points. So I'm going to put a dot where I mark the center back at the bottom and top of the garment. I'm going to trace the hem with just a dotted line. Now, on the underlayer, we're going to trace that seam again, and the next step is to take off the plastic and lay it flat onto my pattern paper. I'm including this shot to give you a clear view of my plastic tracing. It looks rough, and it should. Apologies, the reason that there are two lines is that I screwed up and didn't correctly film when I traced it the first time, so I had to film it again. Please ignore that. All right, next thing you want to do is transfer your plastic tracing of your garment onto some paper. I'm using proper pattern making paper, also called dot paper, but you can use whatever it is you like. There's several ways to do this. I will mention a couple here. One is to use fashion tracing paper like this, which comes in a pack with a variety of colors, and a dull tracing wheel like so. And you put this underneath the plastic and trace around your lines, and then you'll get a cute colored line of your tracing onto the paper. Or you can do what I'm going to do, which is use this sharp tracing wheel. You can see the difference between the two and the sharpness of the spikes. This one, when I trace around my tracing, it will create tiny little holes in the paper, which I will then go back over with a pencil to get my rough draft of my pattern. All right, let's get to it. That's the basic trace. I'm also going to do that for the placket, collar, undercollar. Here's a close-up of the transfer of my tracing onto the pattern paper. Here's the collar, placket, and pockets as well, which I did the same way, as you can see there. Next step is to cut around each piece with some room to spare so that I have room to work, and then I am going to walk the pattern to make sure that everything matches up, and then add seam allowance. Okay, now that you have transferred your plastic tracing onto paper, you need to walk your pattern, which is a technical term for matching up the seams that will be sewn together on your pattern paper to make sure that your pattern is correct, so that you know when you cut it out of fabric, it will be sewn together correctly. I am not going to go too deep into all the ins and outs of pattern making in this video. The main idea was about showing you how to trace a garment and showing you that it works. So I'm going to walk this pattern. I'm going to clean up these lines. And then we're going to cut. Here is a view of the final pattern pieces before I cut. They've been walked, seam allowance has been added, and they're ready to go. Here's the collar, which I made larger, the cuff, body, placket, and pocket.